welcome to ET Education presents the EdTech Advantage Leadership Studio in collaboration with Google Cloud. My name is Shanti Malia and it's my pleasure to host this discussion. This session centers on the new education economy, AI, EdTech and industry-aligned learning. As education undergoes a fundamental shift, the emergence of a new education economy is redefining how institutions operate, deliver value, and prepare learners for the future. The EdTech Advantage Leadership Studio Season 2, in collaboration with Google Cloud, brings together leading voices from academia, industry, and technology to explore this transformation at scale. At the heart of this shift lies the convergence of AI, cloud computing, and industry-aligned learning models. From enabling personalized skills-first education pathways to building agile and scalable digital ecosystems, technology is no longer an enabler. It's the foundation of modern education. This discussion will unpack how Google Cloud is powering this evolution through advanced data capabilities, generative AI, and collaborative digital infrastructure. Through real-world insights and on-ground success stories, the session will explore how institutions and EdTech players are reimagining learning for a rapidly changing workforce landscape. It will also address critical challenges such as bridging the skills gap, ensuring equitable access, and embedding emerging technologies seamlessly into education systems. More than a conversation, this is a forward-looking dialogue on how stakeholders can collectively build resilient, future-ready education ecosystems where learning is continuous, industry-aligned, and deeply integrated with technological innovation. We have an esteemed panel of speakers: Arpit Badjatya, founder Serosoft, more popularly known as Academia by Serosoft; Yash Banwani, founder Seekho. They are joined by Vaibhav Kumar Srivastava, Head Education and EdTech's Google Cloud India and SAC. Hello and welcome. Thanks to all our panelists for joining us here today. Thank you so much for the time that you're taking out. So at the very outset, I'll perhaps call Yash into the discussion. Yash, thank you so much for joining us. So as you know, the theme today rests around the EdTech economy and industry alignment and how all this fits into the world of AI that we are now entered into and juggling with as well, right? So with generative AI now becoming the norm and more mainstream, as they say, how do you really see this reshaping learning experiences as such? So over to you.
So Gen AI is making learning very, very personal, and that's the shift. At Seekho, our vision is to make learning fun, easy, accessible for everyone. And Gen AI is helping us to get closer to that vision much faster than what we imagined. On the creator side, Gen AI is helping us to create content much faster. On the user front, Gen AI is helping us to create our content very, very interactive, one-on-one coaching possible. So on a platform level, Gen AI is enabling us to create a platform that will adapt to the users, not the other way around. And I believe we are in the middle of a revolution where Gen AI will impact a lot of things positively. And I'm very, very excited to see a pace of progress in Gen AI. It is unlocking new things for us that we never imagined possible, and we can just leverage that for our use cases.
Wonderful. So we'll circle back for more inputs. So let me go to Arpit here. So Arpit, taking off from where Yash just left off. So as EdTech solutions have to scale, how does cloud infrastructure play a pivotal role here in enhancing accessibility, personalization, and also driving distinct learner outcomes across diverse learning segments? As you know, India is a very diverse country and the markets are very diverse. So how does scalability and accessibility and personalization come together?
Lovely. So this is very close to my heart and the work that we are doing. I believe that the kind of institutions we work with are just not located in a Buffalo or a Bangalore, but they are also located in Bhilwara. And from that perspective, cloud infrastructure provides the access and brings in a lot of equity around all these experiences. So for example, a group of institutions would like to give the same level of student experience to their institution in Fiji as they would like to give it to someone in Indonesia. And this is something that cloud can enable. I would also like to challenge this assumption that cloud is not the only enabler, or the infrastructure is not the only piece that will guarantee this. There has to be a change in mindset. This means that we need to design the data architecture of the solutions that lie on that architecture in a meaningful way that drives the student outcomes that are needed. And so that takes an effort. So I believe that the institutions need to be intentional about driving outcomes while using the equity power of the infrastructure that cloud and AI today provide, and then ultimately benefit all the stakeholders in the entire ecosystem.
Excellent. And given the diversity of the markets you're addressing, this becomes very critical, right? Perfect. We'll circle back. Vaibhav, we just heard Yash and Arpit share their views. So, as the education economy becomes increasingly skills driven, so how does Google Cloud really help educational institutions per se to transition from a more traditional model to a more industry aligned outcomes driven model? Where does it play out?
So at Google Cloud, we provide the underlying infrastructure for them to build on top of it, right? So everything that a technology can deliver, we give them a platform to go and use the technology in their favor and use the different pieces of or different facets of it to build on top of the thing which a learner is requiring. Now, what the first thing that we see right now is, with the pace of GenAI, the way Yash mentioned, it's changing and it's very rapid. It's very difficult for a curriculum to catch up with it. So what we are also focusing on, that how do we go and make interventions at an institute level, or to be specific at a student level, that how can we ensure that the pace of changing of technology is caught up by the student, right? So it can go into multiple ways. One, making interventions, say at a curriculum level, that whatever they are learning in the institute, can we build on top of it and give them that additional delta that they need to learn to be industry ready. And also at the level that the institutes are themselves enabled to keep the pace of the curriculum, right? And GenAI again comes back into the core. You can use today's GenAI technologies to actually redesign your curriculum, which is to the need of the today's hour, right? Because if I take an engineering course, which is 4 years, it's impossible for an education system to cope up with it and keep changing that curriculum at the pace of it. So at Google Cloud, we try to see if we can build on top of it, whatever is the new skills that are coming up, give it to the students as an additional certification or doing joint BTech degree programs. We make that intervention and we ensure that students are really industry ready, and the industry academia gap is actually getting smaller and smaller.
Absolutely. I mean, given the the size that you are now ready to service, I guess the cloud empowers educational institutions as well to scale like never before. I think the power that it brings cannot be understated, as you say. And AI, I think, is an enabler in this whole process. I think they go hand in hand at this point of time. So, Arpit,
I'd like to make in addition to what Vaibhav said, I believe that metaphorically, cloud and AI provide us the canvas, and technology providers like us are the painters who can really sketch something beautiful on top of it. But what is required is deep domain expertise to come up with relevant solutions that resonate with the end customers. So if a registrar needs a report at 11 p.m. before the Senate, infrastructure wouldn't know it. It's the provider like us who would know it. And so that's where we partner and we ensure outcomes and equity for all involved in the ecosystem.
absolutely, perfectly. It leads me to what I wanted to ask you. I'll stay with you, Arpit. So, how does this collaboration between global technology providers and a specialized information system or a sort of a key online learning system actually change the game? What does it really do?
So in my mind, the best partnerships are those where the two partners understand their boundaries, they do not step on each other's toes, at the same time leverage each other's capabilities and strength. To talk about the partnership, for example, between GCP and academia, Google Cloud gets its fantastic AI primitives, its data capabilities, its infrastructure capabilities to the table, while service providers like us get the domain expertise and the solutions. When these two come together, there's magic for the stakeholders that are involved in the education institutions. And how does that happen? Previously in the past, the student journey without the cloud and the AI would have been a very disparate one, where you would have different kind of data points and then the institution will have to make sense. Now, how has it transformed? it has become a series of touch points which can be enabled through the AI and the solution together to give insights around, let's say, degree advising, their coursework, their communication with the institution, their graduation, life cycle, etc. When all of these come together, it creates a beautiful symphony of a series of data points that then can really create the magic that a partnership like this does. So I believe when two infrastructure and the solution providers come together, magic happens and it can lead to some great outcomes for everyone involved.
Absolutely. So, Yash, I would like to kind of pick your brains on something, very similar and pressing in your space. So, expectations from the education economy are evolving and they are like never before high, right? From every point of view, from the learners, from the parents, from the institutions themselves. So, what are the pressing challenges that, the entire ecosystem is right now facing, and how does technology really help to navigate these challenges?
So learners today don't want to spend hours in courses. They want short, to the point, distraction-free content. So learning from the learner's perspective is shifting from long courses to short, actionable content. On the educators front, the educators face the biggest challenge of distribution. Right now, they upload their content on YouTube, and YouTube is optimizing for time spent, not the value delivery. And these content educators face competition against the entertainment content. At Seekho, we are actually solving for these challenges. At Seekho, we offer short, expert-led, ad-free content experience where users can directly use these skills in their real life. And tech and cloud infra enables us to deliver that. Cloud infra actually lets us reach millions of users without having to create our own data centers. And this actually frees our team's time to focus on what really matters: the content, the creators, the learning experiences.
Excellent. Yeah. So, Arpit, anything that you wish to add here?
To my mind, there are two challenges that the new technology is helping us solve as an education sector. The first one, I call it the relevance gap. The relevance gap points to the fact that the skills acquired by students at the end of the journey of their education is not in line with what the industry needs. And I think that relevance gap is something that technology can really help us bridge. How? The signals from the labor market, the jobs market, can be easily now had in real time and incorporated into the curriculum using Gen AI techniques. This was hitherto impossible. And we believe that this is one area where AI and analytics will play a huge role in making this relevance gap go away. The second thing that I see is educator burnout. Teachers are at the helm and at the center of the education process. All of us know that. All of us have, all the teachers have built our lives, and we are grateful to them always. And in today's world, when the educator has to do administrative processes, they have to create the content, they have to prepare for the lectures, they have to also contribute to the institution in other ways, educator burnout can be real. So what AI and tech is enabling is basically let them focus on the core part of teaching, while some of these administrative tasks can be very efficiently handled by platforms like academia, which is a tech AI enabled system. And so in short, what I would say is let technology do the repetitive, let humans do the irreplaceable.
Excellent point. In fact, I think this will stand the test of time in terms of universality as truth, right? So I'll stay with you, Arpit, for a little bit. So we do understand the fact that, you spoke about democratizing learning outcomes across and looking beyond the metros, the large cities across the world, or specifically you referenced India as well, right? So how does AI and cloud-powered solutions per se really help to look at this democratization in the real sense? Go beyond the metros and hit the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities. So all yours.
Again, a topic very close to our heart and probably our raison d'etre in Serosoft academia. We believe that a lot of the challenges that need to be addressed are actually in tier 2 and tier 3. And until now, you couldn't imagine that a tier 2 city institution would have access to a smart intelligence platform which will enable them. But I think with the advent of AI and cloud, that has fast changed. I can tell you and assure you that today, institution, as I said, in Bhilwara, has as much access to the right tools as someone in Bangalore. And how that is helping is those institutions in Bhilwara can now use the data that's coming out of these platforms. It could be around early signals of student disengagement. It could be the student performance. It could be the admission rates in the institution. It could be the entire student services team's data. All of this is now available. So the quality of decision making by a sincere, mission-driven Tier 2 institution is no less than a Bangalore Tier 1 institution today, if it is utilized well. And I think, again, AI and tech is a great equalizer and a great way of democratizing the impact of technology in education.
Absolutely. So Yash, your take on this. How does, learning get democratized and go beyond tier 1? Because there's a huge market in tier 2 and tier 3, and Arpit came up with some fantastic points. Your take on this?
So I'm aligned with Arpit on this. AI and tech are great equalizers. So let me give you my context. So for Seekho, more than 60-70% of users are from tier 2, tier 3 cities. They are often from patchy networks, low-end devices. They primarily learn in English and vernacular languages. So a lot of things in tech has to come together to serve them. We need a secure, scalable infrastructure that scales well with demand. We need a good CDN with a good penetration. We need models that are trained on regional languages, speech to text, text to speech, and everything. So I will give you one instance. So last week I was talking to a user from Seekho's user from Bihar, and she wanted to earn money online. But we have like hundreds of videos that she can go through, but it's a painful process. But AI can ask her ki, how much time do you have to earn, or what are your core skills? So AI can actually ask these questions to her in her language and get insights out of that and recommend the relevant content to her. So yeah, AI and tech are great equalizer. And cloud infrastructure bring everything under one hood. Cloud lets us plug and play these components and build solutions right for our users. So yeah.
Absolutely. So Vaibhav, given the fact that AI and data technologies have really gone through a paradigm shift, how does Google Cloud really differentiate itself at this point of time in order to kind of enhance and encourage innovation in the education system with the power of these technologies?
That's a great question. In fact, whatever Arpit and Yash just mentioned, right? This is all powered by, at a ground level technology, by Google Cloud, right? We have our Gemini suite of products, which actually can now sit with the learner or with the teacher or with an administrator and be on a command away from what they want, right? So it is as simple as we have moved away from something called as a virtual tutor, which used to exist a couple of years back, right? Where a tutor is assisting a student on the queries and somebody is asking a question and there's an answer coming in. Today, a tutor actually can become a mentor and can ask actually relevant questions to a student to understand the skill set, skill levels, and then curate a content which can be relevant to upskill the student on their own levels, right? Same goes for the educators, which means if I'm an administrator, I want to understand what's my fee collection status today, right? Or how many students are having attendance issues, which kind of subject needs more intervention, and also to a teacher or a lecturer level, that okay, which are my best performing professors and which are the ones who need some attentions. So all of these can be done together just by a simple interaction with a tool powered by Gemini, and all of these answers can be available at a click of a button, right? Yash talked about vernacularity. It's very important these days, right? Because our learners are all across. Let's take an example at Bhilwara, right? A learner in Bhilwara today can actually consume a content which is available in a different language, but consume it in a language which they want to consume it at, right? So in this case, say a Rajasthani or maybe a Bhojpuri or a Kannada or a Tamil, right? They have an exposure and they don't need to do anything. They just need to say, okay, I want to consume this content in my native language, which is say Hindi or something. The same content can be curated for them on a click of a button within seconds, available at their own disposal, right? So this is where the true democratization of education comes into play, that it doesn't matter whether, as Arpit mentioned, whether somebody's in Buffalo or Bangalore or Bhilwara, they exist exactly the way they want to consume content on. One of the more important piece which technology and AI today brings in is also the multimodal systems that we talk about. Yeah. It is not only about just a text converted into a regional language, right? I can ask a text, okay, I have a PDF available with me. Can you create a small video because I understand by looking at a video much better than reading a text on a PDF, right? Or can you convert it into a podcast? Can a podcast be converted into a text? So it depends on the capability of a learner that in which format they want to consume the same content available. So we are not creating different contents or buckets. We are using the same repository, but building on top of it and giving you access in the way you want, in the language you want, irrespective of where you're sitting.
And almost real time.
Almost real time.
Absolutely.
In real time, actually. Yeah.
In real time, actually. It's fantastic. The whole magnanimity of it is like humongous, when coming to think of it, if you visualize it and actually look at it, right? So, great point. I'll stay with you, Vaibhav. So, given that, AI is becoming mainstream and most, higher education or educational institutions for that matter, across the board, across learning segments, have now looked at their AI policies with great keenness, right? And it's also a mandate in many cases. So how do they even look at aspects of data privacy, look at security, look at how data can be accessed across different segments? How can, compliance also be one of their key elements? So how should these aspects really be looked at?
So safety and security is core to us, right? And making AI responsible is the second thing that we keep talking about, right? First thing what we do is we don't take your data away to the cloud and process it for training the models that Google wants to train on, right? Your data is secured in your tenant. It is processed, the AI engine processes on top of it, but the data remains where it has to be. That's first thing, right? Second is, all of these things when we build together, we ensure that it is extremely responsible. So the answers or the output that are coming out of a data model is not hallucinating. It's accurate. It's actually can be revetted by someone which is an expert in that in the subject or in the content, and actually validates the authenticity of the content so that it doesn't go away in a very loose format. What we have done is we have also created our Gemini models which are specific for education. So which means today an institute doesn't need to pay a hefty money which Gemini may cost for a corporate. They can actually go for a Gemini for education kind of a product and give it to the students to actually take it hands-on, in an experiential level. So it not only creates a productivity, enhancement for the student and the teachers, but it also gives them industry readiness in terms of, how to use an AI as a tool, right? I keep talking about this that, when we started with AI, a lot of people got converged towards AI for a outcome-giving engine. Today we are saying, don't be a slave to AI, but be a master of AI. Which means if you know how to use AI as a model, as a student, as a teacher, you are actually trying to cut down your own overheads in terms of time, in terms of efforts, in terms of what all you need to make you more productive, and give the time back to the tutors or give the time back to the teachers which they deserve, so that it is not creating a burnout, which Arpit talked about a few minutes back.
Absolutely, absolutely. Be a master of AI and not a slave to it. So Arpit, given the fact that AI adoption is a reality at this point of time, so how do we really look at this? Vaibhav came up with some points around how, optimized use of AI can actually ensure all these aspects, safety, privacy, and also responsible use of AI. So how should institutions really look at it and incorporate this in their AI policy?
I think it's a very relevant question, and one that is on the minds of many institutional leaders that I have been in touch with. And we are talking to hundreds pretty much every month. And with the power of AI comes the responsibility of AI as well. I look at it from multiple perspectives. First, data privacy, data confidentiality is a non-negotiable from any perspective. In education ecosystem, you're pretty much dealing with the student data, and I would call it as one of the most private datas that reside. The student data includes their personal data. It can also include professional data. It can also include data around the challenges that the students may be facing from a mental perspective. All this gets recorded somewhere or some place. So these are sensitive data, and we need to be 100% responsible. How do institutions take care of this? First, define their own data governance and AI governance policy. Second, they should deal with vendors who have a defined data framework and just not marketing claims around it. And I'll tell you, as Academia by Serosoft, for example, we have worked very, very hard to get all the required data protection certifications and validations like the GDPR, the SOC 2, and others. So I think a responsible vendor will take care of your personal data in a more meaningful way, without a doubt. The third way is also explain to the students that you work with as to what data you're collecting and why. I think everyone needs to be brought on the same page and have a common understanding around it. Fourth, if you're using AI models and the AI models are giving out some sort of a result which then you're acting upon, for example, AI models can tell you which are early at-risk students now. Now, as an institution, I can start to act on that recommendation by an AI model. But it is my responsibility to first find out why that response came from the AI model also. So it is the institution's responsibility to understand the AI model. You can't have a black box approach saying AI did it, so I just followed it. No, you need to know the why behind it. And so you cannot follow a black box approach, and the ethical responsibility of all the confidentiality lies with the institutions and the partners like us that work with them. So I think it's a time when all of us need to think deeply about it. This is one of the biggest cons, if you will, of this great wave revolution that is hitting us.
Absolutely. So, a responsibility and ownership of the AI model rests with the owner, with the institution at the end of it.
And I'd like to add here, my favorite author, Robin Sharma, says, all change is hard at the start, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. I can tell you we're in the messy part of AI wave right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Yash, coming to your views here. So, definitely we are in the messy phase of getting AI streamlined and making it more responsible and making it safe for mainstream use. Yeah, right. So, what are the ways in which the safe use of AI, the responsible and ethical use of AI can be enhanced?
Right. Ethical use of AI is a responsibility we take very seriously at Seekho. You can't deliver a wrong learning to a user. Seekho stands for authentic verified content, and that trust has to be protected at all steps. So if AI is not sure about something, it should say so. It should not make up things. So at Seekho, we have these guardrails on these AI models. We need models that are more deterministic and more predictable. We need workflows that ensure the information that is going out of LLM models is authentic.
Absolutely. So I'll stay with you for a bit. So given this new, education economy, as we say, which is evolving, what's your future vision in terms of how education and innovation should evolve, and how do industry partnerships really take the dialogue forward, especially given the background of AI and the foreground of AI?
I believe a lot of things in learning is going to change with AI. On a broader level, learning will get very, very personalized to a user. Every learning, every evaluation will be tailored to the user. On the content creator side, the barriers will come down. Anybody will be able to create video without requiring the video creation setup and editing and everything. Platforms like Seekho will become very, very hyper personalized, and all of this will be powered by AI.
Absolutely. And one can well imagine that panning out, very soon. Arpit, coming over to you, what does future forward of learning really look like, and where do industry partnerships really feature in the scheme of your vision?
So, to my mind, the most successful institutions in that glorious future will be the ones that build real feedback loops with technology providers, with industry partners, and with the government. And that is why we love what we do at Academia by Serosoft. We help them build something which is at the intersection of all these three, while using data in a meaningful way to get a lot of intelligence. So to my mind, the future of education is data informed, networked, but very human. And to my mind, technology and AI will enable that at scale.
Excellent. So Vaibhav, coming to you here. So we heard, Arpit and Yash share their views around how they're looking at the future of the education economy. So how do critical industry partnerships really change the game here? So how have you helped, organizations and institutions come together to form this ecosystem that can really change the game, given the AI play as well.
No, absolutely. I think that is the most critical piece, right? How does the educators, the industry, and the edtechs like them collaborate with each other? For example, Seekho today is one of the earlier adopters of Gemini Enterprise. They use that for their employee productivity. They use it to ensure that their application is performing to the level which the learners want. Serosoft is actually running out of GCP in their core infrastructure. So we ensure that everything that they need is available on a click of a button so that they can be more productive and they can be more impactful with their customers. Coming to the education and the educators directly, what we are doing is we are ensuring that the Gemini suite of products are available at every student's disposal. We are working with institutes, tying up with them, ensuring that curriculum gets inducted on Gemini or on AI, where the students are able to get the learnings on the go and not wait for to be there for them to be ready in the industry to scale on that, right? Coming back on the educators piece, I think we are working with a lot of professors and faculty members across the globe, across India, where we are telling them that how can they use AI to make their redundant work or things that are repetitive automated. For example, today when I come and open my laptop first in the morning, I have something called as an AI mode in my inbox. It tells me which are my important mails to reply, what are my tasks which I would have missed yesterday to act on, and how should I plan my day. These are the things I would usually take 100 mails to read, and then maybe after 2 hours I'll figure out, okay, this is my action plan for today. Same thing can be actually replicated at a student level, where a student can now understand that, okay, this is my learning plan. I would have missed something yesterday. I have to brush up on this. A teacher can actually create a lesson plan. Okay, I have to go and teach 5 lectures today. So of the 5 lectures, which are the prioritization or which are the things I'm not ready with, and I can create content on top of it. For an administrator or for a somebody who is running the institute, will get all the data which they need to ensure that their institutes are actually optimally using all the resources available at their disposal in the much more efficient way.
Excellent. I think this brings a 360-degree story, a narrative together, right? So fantastic discussion. Thank you so much, Yash, Arpit and Vaibhav, for joining us on this session. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
This is Shanteri Malia signing off from ET Education presents the EdTech Advantage Leadership Studio in collaboration with Google Cloud. For more episodes, stay tuned.